You know, politics is a game of numbers, and also politics as it is give and take. 2023 is around the corner. What do you think should be the clear bargain for the people of FCT in the next coming election?
We should play into the central government. Why I said we should play into the central government. Whatever our agitations are, if we're not in the central government or we're not in the government of the day, we have a zero agitations. I borrow to be a bit deviated. People have said we were in the same pursuit for whatever the state, the mayoral, the ministerial, the service of even the leadership in FCT, the size, the poor number of representation compared to other states that are below us. We're 8,000 kilometers square in size. By implication, we are like Bayelsa and some part of Ibonyi, almost all combined to make the number of the size of the land area in FCT. And yet, we only have one senator in the whole of it. It's heartbroken because other states are privileged to have three. They have minister who represent them. It's a problem that we know repeatedly. But I've also said, how well have we used our resources? This will hit some of the people at the leadership quality of the FCT. How well have we heated ourselves as natives? We're not blindfolded by what is the generation of AMAC internal revenue from ground rent. We know what they generate. Annually, it's a 1.2 billion naira generation. And it's only in a unit because it's centralized. And in every nation, every city center, which AMAC happens to fall within, is a city tax, is a tax, what do we call, tax boom for every nation. FCT has the whole of AMAC to be grateful to and also to cry with. But what happened? In the analysis, all we hear is allocations. We don't generate revenue internally. So even within the context of what we are in control of, are we totally dealing to the full utilizations? We have always complained and blamed ministers responsible. Airlines could have their own thing against the FCT, which I believe it's so, because if you are relating outside as an FCT native and you tell, I'm from FCT, and the first thing you see from airlines, you from FCT? Like, we're stateless. Let's assume our stateless nation, but what we have within our reach, we shouldn't abuse it ourselves. That aside, if we want to be in the cycle, because even in the Bible, it's agreed that if you walk in the vine, you eat from the vine. We can't assume to be at the central government in the coming election, and we shouldn't be brainwashed. I've said this with lots of PDP faithful in the pursuit, that you keep glamoring. The most agitations that even got us court judgment was that when Baba Panya got the ruling, allowing also, making us believe that we are supposed to be entitled to the ministerial slot. But where were the PDPs when we all have 5 local government or 5 area council, only excepting Gwagwalada that was in the opposition? At the same time, in the central government, we have a House of Representatives. At the same time, that was in the PDP. We have a senator that was in the PDP. Why wasn't the agitation put forward and ruined channel? And now you're bringing it to channel that in the last 7 years, that the agitation has gained more momentum, which is to tell you that if the pursuit was intended and it was in the blueprint, it would have been different, like what they give and feed the people that care less to know that, okay, we have pushed out, that the Senate have refused us. And also it's high time we know that whoever we're sending to represent should also not be as local enough as not to have an interactive section, because winning also in positions where you want to win such kind of argument, where you want to get support. How many times have you also supported other people's agitation from their own locality so that when your own comes, you win it over? That is the case where we have the issue of exposure as a constraint for whoever we're sending. Out of the little, we are not even having what we call qualitative representation. We have a few. We might side with the senator. He had always tried to make his own points. But also, to him also, he can do better than he's doing because the principal officer, and as such, if he has a good lobby and romance, it would have been different. At first, it failed in Senate. And the last one that happened, what happened? It failed in the reps. So which is to say, they're either playing politics with the natives without us even realizing, or they are not saying what it is in the truth. And there are little hanky-panky of people around the pursuit of this same. A lot have been put by individuals, but some little individuals are also trying to take the glory of what has not even come to be. If FCT have the state status, achieve all that we want to achieve, it's for our general benefit. You don't have to say, I champion it. A lot of people, I could still remember, it went viral on media. Some little personnel and tagged comrades were already celebrating, we're responsible for the mayoral status in FCT. It's everybody's pursuit. Everybody has been in this one way or the other. We have put our differences aside and said, for FCT, let's go. At the time, everybody viewed it like it's a party who been chanting, this party who been chanting this party, or this party saying this party hasn't done. We knew for the presentations that are made. We keep saying that in FCT, we have a lot to even discuss about. Being a town planner, I differ. I remember one of our interview during my contest for House of Reps, and you asked me, I said, you can't give what you don't have. As large as FCT is, as the land area I've told you, it is heartbroken for you to know that our brothers within Akibu are neither having their houses, they are rather staying in slum, waiting for somebody with allocation to come and chase them away. What happens between the one that has to do with the professional? Nobody talks about it. Are we connected when you are in Lugbe, when you're in Kuje, when you're in Abaji, when you're in Bwari, when you're in all those towns? Are they connected to city center? No. You have to come to city center in search of your white cooler job. And that is the heartbroken thing. Nobody is growing under anybody in FCT. Nobody. You will hear, I am a chairman for 6 years, I am a House of Rep for... How many people have grown under your watch? Nobody. Is that also the minister's responsibility to come and do what we have to do? It's only in FCT that you're somebody who is an artisan and somebody who is at the seat using you without even giving you what you're supposed to do. High time we talk to ourselves internally before we go to fight. Because if we don't have our heads collected within the FCT, then we can never fight a just cause to achieve any meaningful result.
Thank you, TPL.
They came to realize so far that we are not united as people, and they are not allied forum in the FCT, and that is the divide that the national is getting to hit on us.
And now, Comrade Ismail, what should the people of FCT bargain for come 2023?
You know, when it comes to FCT, you have touched my own constituency, and whatever affects FCT or the native of FCT, directly or indirectly have an impact on me. Leadership has been our problem in FCT. Even though we cry for marginalization, the unity across the indigenous tribe in FCT is at its lowest ebb. We don't see ourselves as one. That unity is badly lacking in us. And as I've said, we need leaders in FCT, leaders who have connections, who have the networking across this country, leaders who can stand up and speak for a common native of FCT origin. Do we have that? From the existence of FCT, we have various, even though I understand we don't have a second tier of government. That is where we are being shortchanged by the federal government. But at least we have a senator. We have 2 members, House of Representatives. We have 6 area council chairmen. Are they working in hand? Are they working hand in hand? Do they see? Are they working for a common goal for the FCT natives? These are questions that needs to be answered. In fact, the 2023 election in FCT, we have a role to play in it as advocate of good governance. We will come out and convince people. We will talk to people. We will put the candidates on a scale of preference. We will look at everyone's antecedent and his pedigree. We will look at his track record. And we will tell people where to vote. We are sick and tired of maladministration in FCT. We are sick and tired of incompetency. We are sick and tired of nepotism. We are sick and tired of this high-heartedness in our leaders in FCT. We need to come together as a united entity. First, to be able to even fight the common enemy we have. Our homes are broken down. Respect for constituted authority is at its lowest ebb. What else are we going to do? At this particular time, we need to I call on the youth to sit, not to sit and fold their arms. If you don't get involved, leadership which you aspire for will not be given to you. Freedom is not given freely by the oppressor. It is always demanded by the oppressed.
Thank you, Comrade Ismail, for your contribution. Having 6 area council chairmen, 2 House of Representatives, 1 representing Abuja South and the other representing Abuja North, with a lone senator, how will you describe infrastructurally and human capital development in FCT with these offices occupied by the indigenes or natives of the FCT? TPL Abubakar Sadiq, that question is for you.
What the chairman maybe forget to remember is the fact that our internally generated revenue are sources at which we are funded on a location base. But locally, we were advised or we were misguided or we forgot the fact that it will break your heart to know that the allocation that came last month, none of them, even the one that is AMAC, could not service AMAC because a 70-something million came for a salary base of 200 million plus. If the revenue generations was intact, the revenue generation of a month would have taken care of that. But what becomes of our chairman must think inward, prefer, do, and also have strategy to internally generated revenue rather than strongly and solely believing and depending on our monthly allocations that are also a product of what do you generate internally. Secondly, our LEAs, our local educational secretariats, also shouldn't be a base for a money siphoning or a money getting syndrome. It should also be because it's more funded than even the area council, because it's assumed that FCT is a less education privileged area, for God's sake. It's the center of the nation, and yet it's time as the less privileged education area. A lot of resources come for the local education authority. What do they do differently? That should also be accountable. At last, I don't know if the chairmen are comfortable with this or not, but this is what I'm going to tell them. The operations are looking as if we don't even have what it takes to be the chairman. If we do, then we mustn't come with an empty bargain and at the end of the day telling our people we want to change the narrative without also being up and doing. We have to be responsible. I said this because there was a demonstration sometime. I said, if you can generate revenue internally, it's not actually hardening on the people, because people will think, you keep saying about this revenue generation, tax, revenue generation, land tenement rates. All of this are part of the generation revenue that you generate to do the services that you ought to do for people. When these are not done and your base become one thing, and it's become one direction, chairmen must be up and doing. They must take up the challenge. They shouldn't see people who come to advise them on progressive time as people who are either winch hunting them or people who are against their well-doing. If every chairman is taking responsibility of the domain, they should also tap from whatever that is meant for the local government. We're involved, regardless of we are not state. The number of the area councillor add up to the number of states, and they are part of also the ALGON, Association of All Local Government Chairmen. At that moment too, you could make a solid base of argument, have your things done. But like I said, in all of this, we'll forget the fact that we have 3 PDP and 3 APC chairmen at the moment. They must unite as FCT people who sees and shares boundaries with each other, who also need to do things differently. These are not common interviews you see every day. But one thing I keep telling you is that if we don't admit that there is this problem, then we will never have solutions, because when the problem is known, it's half solved. But the moment we keep saying, okay, we are okay, we only tell ourselves that we are not okay with the allocations. But time will come for other people that had worked with the chairman in 2007, that I know in a month he prepared the salary of 2 months and also have his futuristic plan. Honorable late Samuel Gomna of blessed memory used to do that. He prepared in the raining days and when they used to have oil boom. I know a lot of people have given excuses that they're no more what they call excess crude that used to come down to FCT. But it will interest you to know that local government in the states are not as autonomous as that of FCT. That benefit we have that nobody says it outside it. And that is why when they say chairman in FCT, they are almost equivalent to some House of Assembly from states. So also we shouldn't preempt that we have to take our strength in the little that we have, and which is what we have at the moment. And this is what we are saying we are okay with. And they are natives that me and you were responsible for them coming. Then if we can share our missions in progress, then we will not blame anybody at the end of the day.
Okay, Comrade Ismail, tell us, how will you describe infrastructural and human capital development in FCT?
Leadership in FCT, as I said earlier on, has always been a problem. Having a lone senator or 2 members of House of Representatives or 6 area council chairmen might not be enough, or it's not enough comparing to the population of the FCT. But since that is what we can have on the table now, I think we're told half bread is better than none. We should question our leadership. We have seen in this country that we are, a senator empowering his constituent in different ways. What has been the question of our own senator? What has he done? What is he doing in employment? Sorry, I need to bring a comparative a little bit. I was privileged to meet a honorable member from Kano State, Honorable Suleiman Goro. At a point, we saw in dailies, was able to secure employment for his constituent, over 700 youths. He represents Fagge local government in Kano State. We've seen Senator Alkali from Gombe State, just of recent, empowering his constituents with over 200 cars. What is our own senator doing? What is he doing? This is a question that needs to be asked. It is high time we speak truth to the power without any fear or favor. Nepotism should not be part of our leadership. But to some certain extent, our leaders in FCT are practicing that. And that is what is killing us seriously. The two House of Reps we have, Amak and Buhari, Abuja South, consists of the 4 area councils. What have they done? Are they working up to their capability? These are things we need to look at. These are things the electorate need to look at as 2023. These are things we must look at. Whoever is not doing the right thing should shift a ground for another person to come on board. Our senator has been in the House for over 2 decades. A 1-time House of Rep member, and 3-time senator, a minority leader, that is a principal officer in the National Assembly. What has he done? We must call a spade a spade. We shouldn't hide under little favoritism and we shield what we are supposed to say. We must speak truth to the power. That is why we are advocates of good governance. It will not cost us anything to go around the FCT and tell them, vote for this. We all campaigned for them. We should have the leverage to ask them questions. What have they done for FCT? We have 9 indigenous tribes in FCT. Has everybody been carried along? Is the leadership of our lone senator an inclusive one? This is a question to ask. The member House of Representatives we have, is their leadership an inclusive one? We complain of being marginalized by the federal government. Within ourselves, we are marginalizing ourselves. We need to come out and speak the truth. A penny should not be thrown to you and you begin to follow them all around.
Thank you, Comrade Ismail. Mohammed Jibril, in 1 minute, what would you want to add to what TPL and Comrade has said concerning the FCT?
I think the FCT people should have learned from the challenges we had in the past, where we don't have a direction of where our support is going to, or after supporting a particular government in power, or support a particular political party, and when they emerge, they completely forget that there are people in FCT who have challenged, who have not been adequately represented. There are people in FCT who have the most limited political space in Nigeria. So coming into 2023, the best for us to do is to make sure we make adequate alignment and engage individuals. Now, I want to believe our politicians are members of these 3 major parties, and they might have access to those who are contesting election in these parties. What they should be doing is to negotiate what will come to the FCT should, in case the political party they are supporting come into power. One major problem we have insisted that we have is the issue of having a representative at the Federal Executive Council. You cannot have 36 states and FCT, and you have 36 representatives of the Federal Executive Council in this state, and FCT is not having a representative. Some might have argued that this is a legislative issue. Yes, but we understand that there are bills that are executive, and bills that are executives can come as an executive bill to the National Assembly. Even though our politicians have learned their lesson, and we believe whoever is going to represent us come 2023 in the National Assembly will make sure he lobbies his colleagues so that if such thing comes into the National Assembly, we will not have the challenge we had in the last constitutional review, where it only saw the light of the day at the House of Representatives but could not scale through at the Senate.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on Perspective. We have now come to the end of Perspective for this weekend. See you again next time. I'm Hannatu Majifake. Bye for now.